This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk about the business of starting up a professional TBL basketball team. In studio with us today is Jason Perez, the team market owner / head coach, busy man, of the San Antonio Clutch basketball team. Jason, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Looking forward to today's event.
Yeah, I am too. This whole idea of starting a basketball team and making money from that kind of a thing, the business side of it is very, very interesting to me. At the end of the day, I love business, but business is no fun unless you're making money. So I'm excited to chat about it. I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the CEO of Kruka's Virtual Staffing, a company that recruits and staffs experienced overseas administrative assistants for insurance agents and attorneys. If you're curious about the most common tasks that virtual assistants are doing for businesses, head over to our website at krukas.com and grab a list of the top 20 tasks that VAs are doing for businesses like yours. The link's in the podcast description.
And I am Heather Boehme, owner of Onset Process Development, a process architect who helps business owners and brokers who are looking to exit their business map their processes so they get higher market valuations.
Fantastic. And I'm Emad Guirguis, owner of SimpliBookkeeping, where we help small business owners understand their finances better, make sure that we're taking a two-person point of view and perspective, business owner and CPA, and make it a seamless process.
All right, a quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms and social media where you can catch video versions of the show. You can get to everything easily from our website at satalkradio.com. Now, the Let's Talk Business podcast is having another mega mixer coming up on Thursday, March 27th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Now, tickets are on sale for just $20. They're going to be $25 at the door. Now, this is a huge expo-style mixer, so there's going to be about 20 vendor booths there. And what that does is it elevates the whole mixer experience because people are now, they come in, they gravitate towards these vendor booths, they start chatting, people looking for ways to collaborate. It's not just about selling their trinkets. We're not going to have jewelry people there, but it's going to be a place to meet folks like Emad and Heather. They're going to be there as hosts, but just as an example, you can learn about what their businesses do and collaborate together or buy some stuff, buy some services. It's going to be a lot of B2B action going on over there. We're also going to have snacks and drinks. Net proceeds, of course, are going to go to support multiple charities here in the San Antonio area. We're expecting to sell out again, so I recommend to get your tickets early and save a little bit of money. Of course, Eventbrite's still going to take their fees. I don't know what their fees are these days, but they make a lot of money off of what people are doing out there. A quick shout-out to Erica Banda and her team at Texas Picks Photo Booth for being a gold sponsor for the upcoming Let's Talk Business Mega Mixer on March 27th. Based in San Antonio, Texas Picks Photo Booth offers customizable photo booth experiences for weddings and events throughout the San Antonio, San Marcos, and Austin areas. They provide on-site printing, a selection of props, which is always fun. You know, put the glasses on and the little what are those things called? Luau? What's the
Lays.
Lays, yeah, lays. Put those things on, have a little bit of fun with your friends, and of course they have support with social media sharing. Ensuring guests that have a memorable and enjoyable experience. They've done our events since we've been doing them, and they do a fantastic job. We really appreciate it. If you're looking to add fun and an interactive element to your event, be sure to call them at 210-778-2848. All right, Jason, so you played in some European league of basketball. Is that correct?
That is correct. I played in Belgium and Germany.
And that's kind of where, from our conversations we've had before, where your enthusiasm for the fan side of the sport really kind of kicked off, and what you would like to see, or what you have seen as far as fan engagement, enthusiasm, excitement, the competitive element that we see like big soccer games and so forth. You want to see that kind of come here to San Antonio. I know that's part of what motivates you to do this. But tell me a little bit about your background and then how you ended up with the TBL, and maybe talk a little bit about what the TBL is.
Okay. I'm originally from here. I went to Marshall High School, then I got a scholarship to Wichita State University. Played overseas for a little bit. So I played in Belgium and Germany. Got to travel all across Europe. It was awesome. So I've already done what most Americans won't do unless you're in the military or you take a 2 or 3 week vacation. And I got paid for it. It was awesome. And the chocolate, by the way, in Germany, in Belgium, big time.
Okay, so why is it different? What makes it better?
It's just it's just different. It's just better there. It's just better.
They probably
Belgian
don't use
chocolate. It's like a thing.
Very rich.
And then when I tell people about Belgium, the first thing, oh, you had Belgian waffles? But
Are those different too?
They are different, but we don't have them. Like here, we have them for breakfast. There, it's at night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't. Nothing wrong with that. Getting all sugared up and all. I mean, and for syrup, but this is different over there, and just like the fan experience, it's totally different. If you go YouTube, European basketball atmosphere versus NBA, night and day. And you had mentioned, Mark, about the soccer, or what they call it football, basically around the world. You see it like that. It is crazy. Not a lot of promos going on like we do here in America, you know, with dogs or babies or a red panda throwing bowls up on the top of her head. But that's the atmosphere I would like to bring here to the Clutch, and we will get it here. It's going to take some time.
So I'm curious because I've only known American basketball, and as you know, I'm not a big sports person. So what is really the difference? I know there's like not as much promos, but people are still massive fans of basketball here in the U.S. So what makes it different in Europe?
I feel like they're just more passionate. They really are. I mean, they have they have guys and gals. They're just going crazy. I mean, like there's not a lot of security, and I understand how I say that. Like there's people in the middle of a stairway, and they're just doing rah, rah. They're just going nuts. And they have these, I call them scarves, but these little, what they put around their, I don't know what their correct term is, but, and they're just, and everyone, they're all in sync with a chant. They all know the chant. Kind of like one of the most, like, just like anybody, everywhere in the world, everyone knows Sweet Caroline. Everybody. You see it in the NFL when they go play in Germany or in England. Everybody knows Sweet Caroline, and then also the other song by John Denver. I don't know what it is called, but everybody knows it, except me, obviously, because I don't know the name of the song. I mean, I don't know the name of the song, but
I seem to think that Philadelphia, it was playing at a Philadelphia Eagles game not too long ago. Both of those songs you're talking about, but anyway.
Sweet Caroline, it's always played, and but everyone in the stand just knows a chant. And if you go watch a European game, really a soccer game, and basketball, they're all in sync. And it's kind of like the wave like we do here in America. I mean, they do it across the world as well. But I just feel there's more passion there. They love the sports.
So have you been to an Aggie game? Like yes. Texas A&M?
Well, not football. I mean, I've seen, but it's just like that. It is like that. So you know how they're all doing this? Mm-hmm. They're all moving just like that. It's just like, I mean, everybody's in sync. But they all know what to do. It's wild. But yes, that is a great example.
I have seen that,
even though I'm not an Aggie fan.
Philadelphia games on TV. Yeah. They do that. It's like the whole stadium rocks and rolls on whatever's going on, and they have their even some guy that's doing something like this or whatever.
Have you ever watched actually Duke basketball? Anybody? Duke. Okay, well, Duke. It's a very come on, Heather. You're killing the show here. But it's a very small, intimate facility. It looks like a high school gym. I think maybe it gets 5 to 7, but they are right on top of you, and that's a little close to that type of atmosphere in Europe.
So you're like the things you're saying are making me think of like a cult following, and that sounds terrible, a cult, but that's very much everyone is so bought into the whatever it is. It's like Texas A&M. People call it a cult. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest parts of Texas A&M's culture is you get indoctrinated through fish camp where you learn all of that stuff and they teach you all the chants and they kind of pull you in of you're in this club and nobody else is. Mm. So if that's the kind of vibe that you're wanting to create in this league, how are you pulling people into that cult atmosphere, the cult following that you want to create?
Great question, because we're new. And no one knows who San Antonio Clutch is. People probably think we're some automotive dealership just selling clutches. So I remember I when we first had the logo made, the basketball wasn't there. One of my friends says, "Hey, what's San Antonio?" I said, "Well, professional." He goes, "Well, how do I know?" Yeah. So we had to put he goes, "Just put a basketball. Do something with basketball on it. Maybe put a hoop." It's going to take some time. We got to get some processes down and some systems and all that, but we're going to get there.
Do some fan camps or something.
So I got a question. What do you think is the difference between why people over there in Europe are so passionate and so invested and so involved versus the folks here? I know you mentioned there's marketing. There's a lot more fluff to it here that's like they're trying to make people invested, whereas over there they're just so connected, so interested. It's like a whole family unison into it. Why do you think the difference is?
Well, you said it's more entertainment here.
Mm-hmm.
There, like you said, the word cult is negative, but it can also be a positive.
Sure.
Cult classic, I've heard.
It's short for culture.
There you go. And you mentioned it's almost like it's like a big family.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And they just, when they know a match is happening, they're already preparing for it. Like, oh man, this team is coming in. They're already preparing ahead of time. I'm not saying that we don't do that here in America. I'm not saying, but it's just they just buy into it. Just different. And like you'll see flares in the middle of a match, a game, like actual flares that you would see on the highway, flares going up. That ain't happening here at Frost Bank Arena. It ain't happening.
Mm-mm.
And now, like I said, it's just different. And then there's times where I know one club team in Greece, after the first basket is made, they throw all this confetti on the floor. Now, you think that's going to happen in America?
No.
Heck no. Because guess what? More time we got to clean it up and all that. But everybody just knows that's like a tradition. So my question here in America, what is a tradition for the American football teams, baseball teams, NBA, franchise, things like that?
To chill out and watch the
And
game.
it's lacking, yeah.
But, I mean, they just, like we have a chant. We didn't get to do it this week, but we're going to get there. And like I said, but going back, no one knows who the San Antonio Clutch is. Going to take some time, and winning cures a lot. Now, we started this past
And
weekend.
money cures a lot too.
Well, that's part of it is that chant because you're bringing everyone together and they're all becoming unison, which is something that sounds like it's
Well,
lacking.
I mean, they do that in the military. I
Well-
mean, when they're marching and they're doing their things, they're chanting. It builds culture and identity and all that. Especially, are you from Texas A&M? Is that your?
Well, that's my alma
That's
mater,
your
yeah.
alma mater? Yeah, especially that one. I always felt so. There's fans and then there's fanatical, right?
Yes.
So fan is
But the
short
thing
for
is,
fanatical.
they're fanatical because they've been, like, again, for lack of a better word, indoctrinated. So what is beside, creating some chants and stuff, what are you guys doing to, quote unquote, indoctrinate the citizens of San Antonio to your cause?
Right now, we're just trying to get the fans to go to the games. Now, like I mentioned to you when we were doing this before, all this has happened in 3 months. A lot of times when someone's doing a professional team, they usually go 8, 12 months in advance, really get the name out there. We went live on this in the middle of December, and we just played our first 2 games this past weekend.
How'd you do? Did
We
you guys
went
win?
0-2. We lost.
0-2.
0-2. Or 0-2, yes.
Is it time to? You guys still tweaking what you're doing, or is it time to recruit more people, or how do you fix that? It's only 2 games in.
It's only 2 games in, but just like any professional team, there's going to be some changes.
Sure.
And this is at the end of the day, it's a business. And you mentioned something about money.
Mm-hmm.
And if a player is costing you this much, and you can get a player for this much that can do the same thing, business-wise, it makes sense to go with the other player.
So you and I have both watched, what's the show called again? I was talking
Running
about
Point.
Running Point, okay?
That's where you got the...
So we've only bonded over one TV show because I don't watch sports. He's literally, his whole profession is sports, right? But I watched Running Point, and there was a point in that show where the best player on the team looked at the team owner and he said, your dad and your brother, I respected them, but I know that they treated us all like horses, that we could be swapped out and moved. I thought you were different, right? I thought you cared about the players. So where are you finding these players and what are their stories?
The biggest thing for us, and also just has been social media. So when we first posted it in middle of December, it was all Instagram. I mean, players hit us. I could have filled the team that Friday when it came. It was unbelievable. And I had talked to the president, David, about it. I said, hey, you think it's too late to start in 25? And he's like, nope. I was like, well, are we going to have any players? He goes, yeah. And I said, are they going to be any good? He's like, that I can't answer for you. But social media has been huge for us. Half our team is rookies. And they're learning to play the game at this type of level as professionals. Because we play NBA rules, except one thing that's different. We can do international as far as goaltending. Like, if it's on the rim, we can knock it off. NBA, you can't do that. In Olympics, you can. Or international ball, when I played, you can do that. A lot of people don't really practice it. It's tough to put it here and to emphasize it. But Players, I mean, they've all, most of them have played college ball. They've been around. Some of them have played in Germany and Europe. Some of them played in Mexico, South America. Some of them have also been playing in the TBL before with other teams, just like in NBA players. They've played for another franchise.
So in the show, one of the greatest parts I think of it is that you got to see the background of the players. Like there's the one that's like the wannabe rapper and he's got the drug problem, and the other one that's like a little too good for his britches and only cares about himself, and the other one can't shoot a free throw, so he has to shoot granny style. What are the stories of your team from that? Like that?
Half from our rookies, so I couldn't answer that. But I'll say this: they most of them all have a job, and some of them have their own business on the side, doing a lot of personal training with basketball. So I think one of them has a clothing brand. We haven't gone in depth with them. I don't get to spend as much time with them because we don't practice every day like they do in the NBA. Like I said, these guys, yes, they're getting paid. This is a platform where, and every market is different. Every team owner has a different budget than us. I mean, I'll be honest, we have one of the smallest budgets compared to probably Potawatomi. They're the defending champs back-to-back. They're out of Shawnee, Oklahoma. There's a casino there. So I'll let you kind of think about that.
A little bit higher budget.
Yeah. But no, I mean, everyone, like I said, half the players, half the team is rookies, and they're trying to learn this game, trying to fit in. Go ahead.
So how are you trying to balance right now coaching and the business side of, the business aspect of it?
Well, Saturday was extremely difficult because it was our first game. We had to change venues 2 weeks ago from 2 weeks where we were supposed to play originally, and all leading up to that, I was like an owner. Then I was probably an owner all the way to like 6:45, and our game is at 7. Hey, is security here? Is our concessions ready? Do we have the national anthem ready? Is our DJ here? And I have a partner as well, but he's doing other things as well, and it was tough. It was tough, and we had another game yesterday. Same thing again. And then 10 minutes before the game, then I transitioned to a head coach. But it is difficult. So after this podcast is done, I get back into the owner's mode and going out and shaking hands, talking, asking for sponsorships, things like that. Going over sales from from our 2 games here, from concessions, ticket sales, things like that.
Are you targeting local social media influencers around the basketball sport to like maybe be a part of what you got going on, or to support it some way? Or
no on that. I haven't even thought about that, to be honest with you. That's a good one. But when you say local influencer, I don't even know who. Nobody has come to mind. The first thing I think of are just NBA players. That's just me. I'm not going to get Wimby. Hey, can you come and promote San Antonio Clutch? Because the NBA and the TBL are totally different entities. There's no, just 2 different entities.
Sure. Yeah, but it would just take some time and research. Yeah. Maybe there is somebody, maybe not, but you might have like a high school sensation, somebody junior, senior in high school that's doing like really, really well. Of course, then, they might be looking more towards the NBA, but they might come out and who knows, right? Yeah. If there's a love for the game and you can get them to buy into what you're doing for some reason, then it could be a good thing. It seems like if social media is a good spot for you, that's, I think, where I'd be spending a little bit of time.
That'd be good idea. I mean, like probably the top player here in San Antonio, he's going to the University of Houston. He played at Brennan. And could he play professionally with us? Yes, but then he would be for what's the word? Basically, he wouldn't be able to play high school ball. He can't play pro ball and get paid. And
they don't have to play, though. How about if he just comes out and watches? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or, that's where relationship building with local athletes is probably going to be a good thing. Talk a little bit about the TBL. What is the TBL? How is it positioned compared to something like the NBA? You also mentioned there was another phrase the league, the G League. So kind of like explain that a little bit.
Well, the highest league here in America is the NBA. Then below that's the G League, and then the third would be us, the TBL. TBL stands for the Basketball League. Started in 2018 with 8 teams, and in 2025 there's 34 teams. I think they want to max out at close to 60. It's all over the nation. There's teams in California, Florida, Montana. I mean, the smaller markets, there's more in smaller markets than a market when there's not an NBA or a G League. Smaller communities gravitate to that. Not saying it's not successful in bigger cities like San Antonio or I'm trying to think of another one that has.
Does Houston have any?
They used to.
Yeah. Austin, Dallas?
No.
So
I
why
think
did you
actually
choose?
Dallas used to have one, but I think they're coming back next year for 26. But go ahead.
Why did you choose San Antonio?
I live here. No, I just moved back here. Actually, I just moved back here in 24. And I didn't realize. So how I got involved with TBL, Mark, was one of my connections on LinkedIn, which is the head coach of Enid Outlaws, who we just played, posted in November, hey, I'm getting back on the hardwood. Going to go be the head coach with Enid Outlaws with the TBL, the basketball league. Never heard of it? So I looked it up, basketballleague.net. I said, interesting. Didn't realize I never heard of it. And it talked about interested in ownership, submit, inquiry. I did. 30 minutes later, David calls me and says, tell me a little bit about yourself and all that. And he actually played against my college coach in college. So David went to Kansas University, and my head coach at Wichita State went to Wichita State. So they played, I think, in the Sweet 16 in New Orleans. But there's a lot of other basketball professional leagues around the country. A lot of them don't make it, and most of them don't pay the players. I can't speak for all of them. I know there's another professional league here called the ABA. Some of them get paid, some of them don't. But most of everyone on our team gets paid.
What about the media exposure to it? I mean, is there television exposure for these folks that are doing this? Was there TV at the games that you had? Any kind of exposure there?
We did not have any media come, but the TBL has their own platform. It's called TBL TV, and they're able, and that is broadcast in over 140 countries. Doesn't mean 140 countries are looking at every single game, but it is live streamed, and so that's a lot different than other professional leagues around. Besides the NBA and the G League, things like that, but. They do have a pretty good following. The TBL, like on Instagram, I think it's close to 40,000 followers. I mean, I don't know a lot about social media and all that, but it seems pretty good. It's getting there.
Do you have your own Instagram?
We
or
do.
Facebook
It's called San
too?
Antonio Clutch, and within 3 months, we're getting. Hey, we got 500 people following.
All right.
We're getting there, and Facebook, and it's a process. It's going to take some time, and we just got to continue to get out there in the community as well, and get our players out there. And you had talked about coach and ownership, and I'm trying to balance it myself and also have a personal life. And so there's a lot on the plate, but we got to get these. Like we did a camp for someone in New Braunfels, and it was cool and all that. But we also want to do some more here. And this is getting the players, getting their times from their own jobs, practice, and coming together.
So as a new business owner, how are you finding that, like, networking and connections? And I mean, now you're not just a coach, like you said, you are also a business owner. How is that also helping the business side of things? And how can you see it potentially being a significant, like, contributor in the overall picture of the organization?
I try to go to as many networking events as I can and shake hands, not just pass out business. I'm not in the business just to collect cards, but actually connections.
Right.
Like here, how can we help you? How can we improve your brand? Have you ever partnered up with a professional basketball or a professional sports team? Not a lot of people have. And one of the things, well, what kind of data you got? I mean, you can't just say, well, because on the TBL TV, Mark, we can sell just like KSAT 12 or ESPN, they sell ads. We do the same thing as well. But once again, everything started late for us, so it's tough to get it going. But we're going to get there.
Yeah.
Just getting out and then telling people what we do.
Mm-hmm. And I would assume that that's where, like, culture really comes in, because now, I mean, you do have now a showing and a following. Yeah. So as you continue to grow that, more people are going to buy in on that culture and that tradition, which is kind of why you had brought up the whole European versus U.S. model. And so that could be a huge, movement in the organization itself.
No, you're right. And also getting these players to go to these networking events too. I mean, you don't see a lot of business owners who are 6'8", 6'7". I mean, when those guys walk in, everybody just looks at people. I mean, you look at height. It's just natural.
Those are the kind of guys you ask to get the tall stuff off the grocery store things.
I've done. Hey, I've helped ladies and even men who are this tall.
So when the players, you did not have to go like searching for players. They volunteered for you. They're like, hey, please. Do they have aspirations to make it to the NBA? What is their end goal for doing this on top of the jobs they're already doing? I know they're getting paid, but it can't be, crazy, huge salaries at this level right now. So why are they doing it? What's the end game for them?
I think every player will probably say they want to make the NBA, but you also got to be realistic as well. I mean, I knew I knew I wasn't going to make the NBA, but I knew I could play professional ball in Europe.
Has anybody from this league made it to the NBA yet?
There's been three call-ups. And now they don't go from the TBL straight to the NBA. They go from the TBL to the G League, which is the farm teams for the NBA. So, for example, the Spurs, theirs is in Austin. The Rockets, theirs is in the Valley. They're called the Rio Grande, I think, Vipers, something like that. But there's been three. And the recent one was signed a 10-day contract to the Dallas Mavericks. He's already been released. But, hey, now on your resume, you can say I made it to the NBA.
Right.
But obviously, you just don't want to get a 10-day contract. You want to get a guaranteed contract. That's where it's at. Because if you get hurt, you're guaranteed the money.
But that's the stuff movies are made of, right? Nobody wants to see, like, this was an all-star who was always doing amazing, and then he made it to the NBA. Like, I love an underdog story, and that's half the reason, like, don't watch sports. I think we've established that here. But I watch sports TV shows because I love the tale of an underdog. Even the show we're talking about, they sucked. They were like not on track to go to the playoffs. And then they switched to this like awesome Kate Hudson woman. And she like pulled the team together. And at the last minute, they made it to the playoffs and they still didn't win, but like they did it. Right. And that's the story people like to follow because that's way more interesting than I succeeded at everything in life and made it. So where is that in your social media?
It's coming. But I'm gonna say something on that. The two most exciting shots of basketball is the dunk and 3-point. Nobody cares about a steal, but the one thing fans love is because they love to see players dive on the floor and hustle. They love it because, excuse me, it leads to other things in the game.
Well, and it shows heart too.
Yes,
it shows a lot of heart and passion.
Yeah.
See, I think too that, like, if I'm watching a sports team and I don't know anybody and it's just the sport, like, I don't really care. But if I know, like, oh, this guy really wants to make it to the NBA and he had a knee injury in high school and flamed out and now he's working as an electrician, but he saw his last ditch ever to get to the NBA, I'm like, oh my God, yes, I'm rooting for you now. I want you to win. That's what I would go to something for.
That's what so my wife now loves NFL. She loves we started watching some documentaries, and there's stories like that where people were working at, whatever grocery store or whatever, while they were waiting, kind of in between, they had to make a living. Those are actually great ways doing documentaries about what you're doing, especially local documentaries. If you could get that on some kind of local television and just get people to buy in.
But the problem I can see with that is like people don't like being vulnerable in front of like the world. Do you see that as being an obstacle with your players? Like they're not going to want to share their...
They usually tell it after they've made it.
Yeah, after they've made it. But the thing is, it's not
Fame.
interesting to watch. So, I mean, it's interesting to hear it after they made it. Yeah, it's nice for you. But I think it's so much more interesting to... when I catch that account when it's under 300 TikTok followers and then they blow up to over 1 million, I'm like, I've been here since the get. I've been part of this. That's what I like. And you don't get to see that very often because people aren't willing to be vulnerable. So you see that as an obstacle?
Oh, yeah, I could definitely see that as an obstacle. And that's a great word to use, vulnerable. Going back to what you're talking about, grocery store, the quarterback is Kurt Warner.
Oh, is that it?
He worked at a grocery store. And then he made it to an arena football league. And then he gets a shot and with the St. Louis Rams at the time. And then he wins a Super Bowl. And they were called at that time the greatest show on earth, I think so. our greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
But I think the
sounds
greatest
familiar.
show on earth was that Ringland brought the circus. But
Yeah.
Going back to Heather, what you were saying, we usually see, for example, in music, we see the guy or the gal that makes it, but we don't see what they were doing when they were playing in front of 10 people. So, but wow, they already made it, man. And to us, it looks like an overnight success, but it's not. It's behind the scenes. And it's the same thing with these players. If you perform well, you're going to get noticed and you're going to get paid. And it takes time. It's not easy. So when I played, there wasn't as many players playing. There's a lot more today. That doesn't mean that they're better. I mean, half the players probably shouldn't be playing, but that's just my opinion. But but that's a good point on the story, is because people do want to hear that.
I think it's team too. The more vulnerable you're willing to be with a group of people, the more you trust them. But I think there's a massive vulnerability issue generally in the U.S. especially. Like, people are canceled for accidentally saying the wrong word right now. And, you know, it's changing a little bit, but people are so afraid to look weak when weakness is actually what bonds us, because we all can relate to that more so than anything else. So, you know, I would love to see that, because I'm down to root for an underdog team who just started and are all doing it as their second chance on top of their jobs and looking to make it. But the big question is, can you as a coach get them to be vulnerable to the world by sharing those stories while they're still in the, for lack of a better word, shitstorm of not having made it yet? Because it's so much harder to share that when you haven't gotten there yet.
And part of the enjoyment of, you know, business and growing as well is the journey itself. You know, like you said, no one just starts yesterday and then boom, tomorrow they've made it. And so, you know, along that route where it's ups and downs, it's also looking back and saying, oh, we just accomplished that piece right there that we were struggling with. So that's not just you also as the business owner, that's everybody on the team too. So as you go through that journey, it's looking back on those milestones that you've accomplished and enjoying those and celebrating those moments too, because that's what keeps you leveraged forward. That's what keeps you moving forward as well. And like, business is hard. Everybody that's in it knows that, right? But it's what keeps you going, what keeps you in it is that passion, and that's exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, even though we went 0-2 this past weekend in our home opener and for the first two games, we still had fans. We had more fans than we thought we were going to get there. There was probably maybe 175.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
110.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we weren't and weren't expecting. So Saturday's crowd was a lot better than Sunday's, but it's a start.
Are you capturing? Are you capturing media during these things? Do you have people shooting good videos of what's going on so that you can create social media content around it?
Yes, we have that taken care of. Yes, so the group that's doing our live stream, they're doing a great job on it, and then we also have someone within that group who's also capturing plays and content, things like that they repost right away on social media.
And so tell folks where they can find you on social media.
On Instagram, it's San Antonio Clutch. We have a Facebook page as well, San Antonio Clutch. We're on X as well. I think it's SA Clutch TBL. We have a website, sanantonioclutch.com. Everything's pretty much San Antonio Clutch. We're trying to really create that brand and get more brand awareness, because we are new.
Now, is it spelled out, or is it just SA Clutch?
No, it's San Antonio Clutch. The only one that's SA Clutch is X.
Okay.
But on Instagram and Facebook, our page is San Antonio Clutch.
And if folks want to sponsor one of these, what does sponsorship look like? Is it like, do they sponsor games? Do they get what does a sponsor get? And typically, what are you asking for?
Well, they'll get a social media presence on, not just on our website, but they'll get some shout outs on the games. We're looking to do a halftime promo with sponsors as well. We're looking to do, like I said, this is all down the road, but one of them, if you're a sponsor at a certain level, you get courtside tickets. In April, I think we're going to be moving to another venue. We're going to look to do now. In here, Mark, you had asked, well, who is doing this well and how do you want to do it? Yeah. So one of them is Kokomo. They're out of Indiana. They actually play at a high school. In Indiana, basketball's Mecca. Texas, football's Mecca. Well, they play at a high school, and their high school gyms are 5,000 to 8,000 gyms. Okay, but they have on the floor, they have like these corporate suites. They call them corporate suites, and it's just PVC pipe that they outline. And then let's just say, Let's Talk Podcast business wants to sponsor a game or the season. They'll go there and they pay X amount thousands. They're on the court and they get a little table and there's drinks, and it's like a suite, but you're on the court. Now here in America, a suite is usually upstairs, or in every facility is different, but most suites are upstairs.
Well, you can see it better if you're on the court.
Yeah, and the crazy part is, and people told me this over the weekend, that this is a professional game, but they are they're so close to they're right there. I mean, you're seeing 6'8", 7 foot guys right here, like right in front of you, and for $42, that's our ticket price for courtside. You're not paying $42 at an NBA game. You're just not. Not even the worst team, which is I think the Washington Wizards in Utah. You're not paying $42. You're just not. Those are thousands. But they have. It's just, and I think they're one of the first ones to get started in this league, and it's just to watch them grow. It's kind of cool. We've only been doing it for 3 months, but we follow each other on Instagram. And that's the great thing about this league. We all want to help each other because we want this league to grow. We just don't want it to be here. We want it to continue to grow because just like the other professional sports, there's media rights. They all get money. And Mark says he likes money. Well, guess what? We, as team owners, we're going to get some money too from the revenue sharing on our TBL TV. Now, obviously, the ones that have been established more, they have a bigger following than us. But we're going to get there. We just like the other owners told us when we went to our owners meeting in February, you just got to get through your first year. Just get to, because we don't know. I've never owned a professional franchise sports team.
So, we're out of time, but if folks want to, like sponsors especially, if they want to be a part of what you got going on, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Go to sanantonioclutch.com and just inquire and just submit an inquiry on that submission form. Or they can also reach me at an email, jason@sanantonioclutch.com. Pretty simple.
All right, love it. All right, well, thanks, Jason. I enjoyed that, man. I think we've done quite a bit of different businesses here, like entertainment industry. This is the first on the basketball side. We haven't had the football team. There's a football team here too, right? XFL.
Yeah, but that's like owned by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I don't think we're getting him on here.
Can't have him on the show.
He's a little out of our league.
All right, thanks again, Jason. All right, let's wrap up the show. Quick reminder, check out our latest podcast. Catch video version of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for this one. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.